Genetics and evolution. So first, let's understand what's the meaning of offspring. Offspring means the child of a parent. So offspring contains genetic information from parents. Genetic information from their parents. So the offspring contains genetic information from parents. Now, this genetic information in this offspring is contained in the form of genes. So it's stored on genes. And these genes are present on chromosomes, which are in the nucleus. These are in the nucleus. So, inheritance. This is another term that we have to understand. Inheritance or inheriting. Inheriting means passing on characteristics from parent to child, to the offspring. From parent to the offspring. This is the meaning of inheritance. Passing on characteristics, physical characteristics or genetic characteristics from parents to the offspring. Now, variation. This is another term. Variation means the differences in characteristics. Variation means the differences, the changes in characteristics, in physical characteristics from, let's say, between individuals of the same species. So variation means the differences in characteristics between individuals of the same species. So let's understand what's the meaning of species. So species means a group of similar organisms that can reproduce. So a group of mainly similar organisms that can breed with each other. So they can breed with each other and reproduce or produce an offspring. Breed with each other and produce an offspring. And this offspring should again be able to reproduce. So this offspring, we call this as a fertile offspring. Species is a group of similar organisms that can produce an offspring, and this offspring can also produce some more offsprings. So that's why we call it as a fertile organism, fertile offspring. So this is what variation is. Variation means the differences in characteristics between individuals of the same species. Now, there can be two types of variations. So there's two types of variations. The first one is genetic variation, and the second one is environmental variation. Environmental variation. Genetic variation is caused by genes in the nucleus. Environmental variation is caused by climate, lifestyle, diet, and surroundings. So it has many factors that can affect an organism. So environmental variation, climate, lifestyle, diet, and surroundings. So these come under environmental variation. Now, chromosomes, they carry information in the form of genes. So in the form of genes. So chromosomes carry information in the form of genes. So carried by chromosomes. And these genes are made up of protein and DNA. So DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid, the full form of DNA, and it's also made up of some protein and DNA. The genes are made up of protein and DNA. So these genes have different functions. So different genes have different functions. Some genes are responsible for eye color and some genes are responsible for hair color and things like that. So different genes have different functions. Now, there's another term, that's mutation. This is a very important term. Mutation means it's when genes are altered to function in a different way. Sometimes mutations can be dangerous, sometimes mutations can be good. So mutation means when genes are altered to function in a different way. So mutation, genes altered so they no longer function in the same way. So let's put it that way. When genes are altered so they no longer function in the same way. So when genes are altered so they no longer function in the same way. This is what mutation is. Now, examples of mutations. Cystic fibrosis, this is a disease. Cystic fibrosis, this is a disease, and this is caused by mutation. Genetic mutation, and it's not by environmental mutation, it's by genetic mutation. And radiations and chemicals can also cause mutation, and radiations and chemicals can cause dangerous mutation, which is not good in a certain way. So there can be two types of variation. Mutations can be good sometimes, and mutations can be really dangerous and bad sometimes. And radiations and chemicals can cause mutation. Humans have 46 chromosomes. Humans have 46 chromosomes. So there's 23 pairs of chromosomes. 23 pairs of chromosomes. So in total, 46. 23 plus 23, 46 chromosomes and 23 pairs of chromosomes. Now, one important thing to understand here is that the size of the organism doesn't depend on the number of chromosomes. Or else, let's put it this way. The number of chromosomes doesn't depend on the size of the organism. Depend on the size of the organism. So humans are really complex organisms. But they have only 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs. Some really less developed organisms, such as ferns like pteridophytes, they have so many chromosomes, and that doesn't mean that pteridophytes are really developed. They are not developed as humans. So humans have 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs, and the number of chromosomes doesn't depend on the size of the organism. So some small organisms like rats and some really less developed organisms like pteridophytes, ferns, these can have many chromosomes compared to humans, but humans are the most complex organisms. So now zygote, let's understand what zygote is. Zygote is formed from both parents. It's a mix of genes. It contains a mix of genes from both parents. From both parents. This is a zygote. It's like a ball that's formed after fertilization. Mix of genes from both parents. Now, there are two different types of genes. Let's look at types of genes now. Genes are of two types, dominant and recessive. Dominant gene and recessive gene. Dominant genes are the genes that control the characteristics. So, control the characteristics that we inherit, that we get from our parents, that we inherit. Recessive genes, on the other hand, these are the genes and they gain control once when the dominant genes are absent. So recessive genes, they only gain control when the dominant genes are absent. So dominant and recessive. Dominant genes control the characteristics that we inherit. Recessive genes, they only gain control when these are not present, when these are absent, when dominant genes are absent. Now let's take a quick example to understand dominant and recessive genes. So, a characteristic like eye color is controlled by two different genes. The gene for brown eyes is dominant to the gene for blue eyes. There's brown eyes and blue eyes. The gene for brown eyes is dominant than the gene for blue eyes. So brown eyes, the gene for brown eyes is dominant and the gene for blue eyes is recessive. Show the possible eye color of children of two parents if the mother has blue eyes and the father has brown eyes. So, mother has blue eyes and father has brown eyes. And in the question, it's also given that blue eyes is small b, father has brown eyes, which is capital B, small b. So, capital B and small b, yeah. Now, this capital B represents the dominant gene and the small b represents the recessive gene. So, father has brown eyes, capital B, small b. So, there is a dominant gene and there is also a recessive gene. But because we said that dominant genes control the characteristics that we get from our parents, that we inherit, this father has brown eyes instead of blue eyes because blue eyes is less common and because it's recessive. So they said to show the possible eye color of children of two parents if the mother has blue eyes, small b, and the father has brown eyes, capital B, small b. Now, what we do is we make a table and it shows the phenotypes and the genotypes of the offspring. Phenotype. So phenotypes and genotypes. And then we write the gametes. And then we write the possible phenotype and possible genotype. So this is how we make this table. So we say mother and father. So mother has, so they said phenotype. So phenotype means the physical characteristic of mother. So this is about the eye color. So this is our main thing that we're looking at here. So phenotype of mother is blue eyes. So blue eyes. Father, brown eyes. Mother, blue eyes. Father has brown eyes. Genotype. We have been given the genotype also. So mother, small b, father, capital B, small b. Gametes. Now, this is where we cross mother and father genes. So this we have B, so this B is from this B, and we get one of this B here. So small b, capital B, so one gene from mother and one gene from father. So small b, capital B, and then we take this small b and take this capital B. So this is from this small b and this is from this small b. And these all are mixed with this capital B from father. Next, so let's take off. And then let's take this. Capital B is mixed with this small b, and this small b is mixed with this small b. So this, so this, and then this. So capital B, small b, capital B, small b. So these are the gametes, possible gametes or possible genotypes of this offspring. So yeah, this is how we write it. So let's write it this way. So I just did this, and then this. So let's write it this way. B, small b, capital B, and small b. Now, possible phenotype. Brown eyes, brown. So this is brown because once capital B is present, that means the offspring will have brown eyes because this capital B is dominant and it takes over the small b. So brown. Here we don't have any dominant gene, so only recessive genes are present. That means here we have blue eyes. Small b, capital B. Here we have brown eyes because once capital B is present, that means the offspring will have brown eyes. And small b, again, blue eyes because there is no dominant gene here. So brown, blue. So these are the possible phenotypes of the offspring. Now, possible genotypes of the offspring. B. So small b, capital B, small b, capital B, and small b. Now, they said to show the possible eye color of children of two parents if the mother has blue eyes and the father has brown eyes. So if someone asks you what's the chance of the offspring having brown eyes, then you could say there is a 50% chance of the offspring having brown eyes. 50% chance brown eyes, and 50% chance of having blue eyes. Yeah. So this is how you can solve a problem based on dominant and recessive genes and crossing of these two genes from two parents. Now, let's take a look at evolution now. So, evolution. Evolution is the change in species, change in species over a long period of time. Change in species over a long period of time. So the key word here is long period of time. So evolution. So there can be two types of evolution: small scale evolution and large scale evolution. So we've looked at what species is. A species is a group of similar organisms that can breed with each other and then again produce an offspring which is fertile. Another thing, natural selection. This is like a theory which states that it's a concept that species with characteristics helpful for survival will pass them on to offspring. So concept that species with characteristics helpful for survival will pass them on to the offspring. So only the characteristics that are helpful for their survival will pass them on to the offspring. Onto the offspring. And it also states that only the fittest in an environment will only survive. So the ones that cannot survive in that environment will become extinct or will die. Now, sexual reproduction means the reproduction where there is two parents involved. In sexual reproduction, sexual reproduction allows variation to happen. So it allows variation to happen because there is different genes coming from both parents, both male and female, allows variation to happen. Whereas in asexual reproduction, there's only one parent, and the offspring of asexual reproduction is exactly the clone of the parent. So there is no variation happening there. So it allows variation to happen. This is sexual reproduction. And so survival of the fittest, only the species that fit best into the environment will survive. That's one more thing. And diversity, this is another important thing. Diversity, it's the variety of living organisms on Earth. And that's why we call it biodiversity. So this is also known as biodiversity, a variety of living organisms on Earth. Now, adaptation is a characteristic of an organism that helps it to survive in its environment. So adaptation, let's take an example of adaptation. So not the largest, but the fastest bird on Earth is called the Peregrine Falcon. Peregrine Falcon is the fastest bird on Earth. Fastest bird on Earth. And there are some characteristics for this peregrine falcon which helps it to be the fastest bird, or which helps it to fly really quickly in the sky. And these include its aerodynamic. Aerodynamic means it provides air resistance. Provides air resistance when flying in the sky. It has dark markings near its eyes to prevent glare. Dark markings prevent glare, and also to prevent dust from falling into the eyes. So prevent glare and a protective membrane to prevent dust from falling in the eyes. Now, heart rate reaches up to 900 beats per minute, BPM, 900 beats per minute. And because of this, these peregrine falcon is able to fly in the sky with such high speed. So heart rate, it goes up to 900 beats per minute, and this allows the oxygen to travel quickly in the body and prevent fatigue. So helps oxygen to travel quickly and prevent fatigue. Also prevent fatigue. So these are some adaptations which help peregrine falcon to fly in the sky. So this is just an example of adaptation. So in this video, we've looked at genetics and evolution.